Also, yeah, there you go. I did go give it to myself.
All right, is everybody ready?
Hell yes.
All right, so I'm gonna start off by thanking everybody that helped made the woodworking show possible. So everybody that helped load up, lug everything up and back, and everybody who participated in demoing and whatnot during the show to bring us in some new members. So let's start by embarrassing some members. So who's new? You stand up first. Tell us your name and what brought you here and.
Orlando Maldonado, I had come to the last meeting to check it out. I live in Gallery Township. It's about an hour plus drive. 3 hours. And I had started looking at videos on attorney and all that, and I got interested. I looked for a South Jersey chapter, but there wasn't any, so that's what I'm here. To the closest to home.
Just in time, right?
All right, so who's next?
No, you're standing away.
I was here maybe 6 months ago and then I had a back problem. So I had an operation, but I'm back and I'm a member now. I just joined tonight. So I was a shop teacher for 35 years. So I taught metals as well as wood, and I don't have a lathe and I'm left-handed. So I need probably a Nova 1624 that has a pivoting head. So if anybody knows of one for sale, willing to buy a used one. I'm John Whitmore, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, it's on Zoom.
Jeff Grossman, I've been setting up a workshop for 30+ years, dabbling and trying to make just about anything you can think of. And new passion is wood turning, so interested to see what people are doing and learn from you.
Welcome.
Who's next?
I think there's somebody on Zoom too.
I'm a new guy.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Pat Matthews. I live in Jackson, New Jersey. I'm recently retired from the veneer and plywood industry. And I have an old Delta Rockwell lathe in the back of my car. I just bought a new lathe. If anybody's interested in it, let me know. I don't know about the left-handed part of it, but.
Stand up. Bob Murphy and my wife Tony. We were members about 4 years ago. We also live in Galloway. It's about an hour drive. So we took a little respite and now we're back and see how it is.
Thank you. Name's Jim McBrien. I was a builder and then a construction official for 20 years. I've been turning maybe 10 years now, just on my own. I've self-taught. I went to Rockler and one of the fellas mentioned this club, so I came up. I'm from Manahawkin area. So that's an hour drive also from here.
Wow. That's dedication.
Welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? Gentlemen on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm Doug McCoy, my wife Carol. I wandered by your booth up at the woodworking show this weekend and
That was a mistake.
yeah, and it looked like lots of fun and thought like something I'd like to try doing. I did some like 45 years ago and man, it's a scary number. Thought I might like to try to do some more.
Well, welcome back. Anyone else?
Yeah. Yeah, from all the members. All right, so it's my second time with forgetting my bullet points. So we'll see how this goes. We're just gonna roll right into the board meeting or the board members, just to get this rolling. So we'll start with Jesse. You have anything or?
I just thank you for all the tops that are making them. So we got a lot tonight.
All right, so obviously Jody's on Zoom, so she won't be able to chime in. Susan, you wanted to talk about anything about WIC really quick, or?
Yes.
And then we'll get on to the budget stuff.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'll just go right up here. Hello, everyone. I'm Susie for anybody new. So Thursday, March 7th at 6 p.m. We have a Turning for Fun event at the Howell Library. We had a display there in December and they asked us if we could come in and do a live demo. Bruce was kind enough to volunteer, so he will be turning a top and a small bowl. And the library is going to, what? And Jody will be commentating. The library will be putting it out through the patch. They will have flyers, etc., so that we can promote it and show our support for them.
What day of the week is that?
A Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Don't worry about it, you retired.
March 16th, the WIC committee will have a turning collaboration here at the Turning Center, and I forgot to write down which time, but we all know, and I'll update that on the website. So I did request for some bowls to be placed in the Howell Library. That will be in conjunction with the turning event that Bruce is doing. So I'm not sure if all those bowls on the back table are the ones that are going or not. Yes, maybe some. Oh, thank you all very much. And I was going to do the Stafford Library with some monthly challenges. However, I'm not sure if anyone brought any in. So if not, I can put that further away into the next month. But let me know and I will put out another email to everyone about that. Thank you.
Rebecca, Kevin, did you want to talk about any updates to the website?
So the only thing I keep repeating this and I apologize if I'm being a pain in the ass. Everybody who has set a profile, Rebecca and I were just talking about it again today. We're seeing still lots and lots and lots of people who have opted out of all emails from the website. All emails, meaning you don't get a lot of the stuff that's going across. So if you have time, when you log on to the website, go up to the top right corner of the page, look at where it says your name, click on it, wait for the profile to come down, and then look for your communications that are listed in your profile to see if you've in fact shut yourself off. The last meeting, I actually had to go around that for everybody so we could tell you the meeting was canceled, but really the only way we can get to you through the website and the emails is if you don't opt out of the club website emails. So take a look, make sure that you're getting things that you want. I strongly suggest you allow general emails because that's typically from Chris. And then you might want to think about allowing the coffee shop forums because that's like the old Google thing as well. But I didn't see many changes from the last time I said this to this time that I said it. So I'm trying again. So go in and look at your profiles and make sure you're getting the communications you want.
You ready, Doug, for the long-awaited budget?
Let me start off with our treasurer's report. At the end of the year, we had a checking accounts balance of 369907. In January, we had expenses of a bank fee of $5, the Nova lathe, new Nova lathe of $466.34, an HDMI cable for $19.14, and Club Express for $30 for a total expenses of $520.48. For income in January, we had 3 cents of interest, $600 in dues payments, $77 for the January 50/50, and $10 in wood sales for a total income of $68703, giving us a balance at the end of January of $3,865.62. We do have pending transactions of a dues payment that hasn't been deposited of $40, and our electricity that we paid to Joe Malolo for the use of the turning center hasn't been cashed yet for $44. So that takes $4 off our total and gives us an adjusted balance of $3,861.62. Yes, sir.
The expense for the Club Express.
Yes, it's a monthly charge. And it varies based on the number of members we have. So as we increase, then that also increases as well. This is the budget that the board has put together. We just give everybody a minute or two to get it in their hands before we good? The proposed operating budget, I'm giving you some comparisons there. We've got 2022 actual, 2023 budget, 2023. That's actual, not year to date, but it's actual for the year. And then a 2024 budget. Most of the income items are really based upon track record. Try to be a little bit more conservative with the income. We budgeted less, for example, in 50/50 than we actually received. Part of that was because we had a big 50/50 in December that was higher than the average. The donations might seem a little bit high. But this year we asked our members if they might want to include a donation with their dues payment, and we've already collected $400. So I'm pretty sure we can make that goal during the year. The $400 for demonstrations, we're planning on an all-day demonstration of some type, which will involve some kind of a contribution from our membership just to offset some of the costs there. So that's what the estimate there is. Tool sales, wood sales are pretty much just track records and holding locations. So we're planning on total income for 2024 of $4,324. On the expense side, office supplies and printing, we didn't have any expenses last year, but I generally have been just shelling out of my own pocket for most of these printing costs and things, and I probably won't be doing that in the future. The demonstrations, we're planning on at least one full day and perhaps either 1 or 2 evening demonstrators. The Zoom cost is, so virtual people can attend. Club Express, that runs an average of about $30 a month. Insurance, that we have 3 different insurance policies. We have general liability, we have theft of our equipment, and we also have directors and officers liability. That's the estimate that's for this year. Food and snacks is pretty much what we've been running as a track record. Really don't have much planned in the way of turning center this year. It's kind of just a placeholder in some respects. As far as audiovisual equipment is concerned, we're planning on buying a computer and or a monitor just so that personal equipment doesn't have to be used for, our meetings. Bank charges are pretty much fixed. I don't remember specifically what we talked about for tools and equipment, but, in some respects, it's just kind of a placeholder, I think. The church donation, every year, we always give the church $200. And then, as we talked about in December, we've been using, the electricity at the Turning Center kind of as for free, but it's coming out of the pocket of the pastor personally, so, we're going to include that in our payments to this year. 50/50 prizes. This is, to buy additional things beyond, just the cash during the 50/50. The club gift, we traditionally have provided some kind of a gift to our members, whether it be by drawing or by raffle. And that's what we've paid in the past for that. And just a miscellaneous for a placeholder. That gives us total projected expenses of $42.84. And that would give us an operating surplus for the year of $16.24. Any questions? Yes. The biggest number there is our liability insurance, followed by the director's officer's liability, then followed by our property theft kind of thing, or loss of equipment. Yes. When or where? It would be right here. Yes. He asked when or where would be the whole day demo. And we think that it would be here. Okay.
We've done that before.
I'm sorry?
We've done that here before.
Yes.
Budgeting for one or more than one?
We're budgeting for 1 full day and 2 part day.
And that's within that 1,200.
Yes, we're saying that $800 for the full day and $200 each for the part day. Any other questions? Yes.
Demonstrator?
There's been some talk. I don't exactly know personally, but I don't know.
At the woodworking show, I talked to Daryl from Dreadnought Woodworks or Woodshop. He does a lot of like off center, and he uses both the Sorby wobble chuck and stuff like that. So he's got an interesting box that he makes.
Kevin?
Part of that too, when, because I don't know if you were with us talking about Emirates and Northern, they were willing to do another split demo with us and kind of like others. Come back and said they think for the reason. Daryl said that he would be happy to do one prize for 2 clubs and then the
Any more questions? Is there a motion on the floor to accept the budget? Kevin? Second? All those in favor? Opposed? I'm gonna go right into the club challenge.
Yeah, sure. You can take a breath now, though.
Okay. I don't really have to. That wasn't as bad as I thought. Okay. I'm jumping the gun a little bit here. It's you could say April showers bring May flowers, but for our club challenge, March is going to be bringing the flowers. March's challenge is to turn flowers. Not just one, you have to turn 3 and they all have to be different. Not really.
Here's sketches.
Yes. And if you want to, you can also include a vase or a weed pot to go with them. I originally turned 3. My wife says, no, it's imbalanced. You need a 4th one. So let me tell you, the 4th one was a daisy, and that gave me all kinds of problems. Mainly because I got, well, I won't say lazy, I was just trying to rush. The first one I did out of ash. When I was just finally parting it off, I stopped the lathe. The chuck spun off the lathe and smashed the daisy on the floor. No, they actually weren't that thin. Yeah. So then I did the second one. And that was pretty thin, and when I was power carving out the pedals, a couple of the things broke off on me. I had to glue them back on with CA glue. And let me tell you, I don't think I'm ever going to use thin CA glue ever again. I glued myself to the pedal. And I ruined another pair of pants, I swear. So that's going to be March's challenge, is to make flowers. I still think 3 probably is the ideal number, but now that my wife sees this, she says I really should have made 6, so, okay.
You ask her when she's gonna learn to turn?
That'll never happen. I'm lucky if I even get her in the shop.
All right, so, I'll open it to the floor for anybody that's got any questions or wants to bring up anything, or?
Of course. I was practicing, I finally broke the lathe out of the box. And I was practicing also softwood that I had. Now, I found myself looking at where I had the gouge or whatever it's called, and then I'm finding myself looking on the wood as the lines are going. What's the safest and proper way to, as you're trying to smooth out that wood? I mean, should I be watching where the gouge touches the wood, or?
No, we couldn't, I mean, obviously, when you start, you want to watch your bevel contact and where you're moving the gouge to, but I mean, if you're looking to shape something, look at the horizon. The top, and sometimes it makes it easier if you put a contrasting background behind the wood, like if the light would put a darker background.
Okay.
That way you can kind of see the shape. But a lot of times it's just once you get enough practice, and you could do it by just feel, and you can feel when you're not making good bevel contact, or you're putting the wrong part of the edge up against the wood.
And if everything fails, sharpen with two.
I might add to that.
Number one. Sharpen
A
two.
number of times that I've been teaching new turners. One of the things that I found with new turners that they seem to lose track of is where the tool rest is in relationship to the wood that you're turning. Everybody knows when you chuck up a new piece of wood in the lathe, the first thing you do is spin it manually to make sure nothing's gonna hit. And more times than not with new turners, that's the last time that they ever touch the tool rest. So really, as you're getting more wood off of more stock off of what's spinning, the tool rest is getting further and further away from the wood. So it's making it more and more difficult for you to be able to control the cutting edge of the tool, because it's extending further and further and further over the tool rest. Really, when you're turning, and if you've roughed something out, you should be adjusting that tool rest 2 or 3 times as the wood's getting smaller to make sure you're clearing the tool rest, but not really far away. And it'll really change how well and how less you'll get catches, because your tool won't be overextended over the rest.
March, we're gonna start back. So we're probably gonna start off with a beginner's class on spindle turning. Just because we have so many new members here.
Could everybody please shout a little bit, because I can't hear anything really, especially when you're just talking to somebody who's close by. Oh, thanks, now you can hear me. So, that's all, it's just a request. I want to hear everybody.
So I was just saying, in March, we're gonna start back up in the turning center and start doing some classes again. So we'll start off with a beginner's turning class for all the new members that have been joining.
Great.
It's one of the other thing that you should be aware of is the height of your tool rest. Your cutting edge should be right at the center. If you don't want to be reaching up, pointing up, or reaching down. It should, yes, yes, and that's where the cutting edge of your blade is. sometimes there's a thickness that you have to allow for so that the cutting edge is where you want it to be. Silly question. The plastic washers that people put between the face plates and the chucks, is that something that's necessary, required, or is it?
Yeah, it's a real good idea because I've frozen a chuck onto my lathe when I wasn't using one. And it took a pipe wrench around the spindle and a monkey wrench and a drilling hammer to free it. So I always use it.
When they talk about the turning center, if you remember, there's no cost to you to attend these lessons. So.
Yeah, it's all included in the membership, so whenever we hold a class, there'll be a sign-up sheet. It's the first 6 people to sign up, get into the class. If you wanna come after, sign up after, you can come and watch, but.
Chris, you might want to mention to the new members what the turning center is.
Yes, so the church.
Some of them may not know what we're talking about.
So the church has graciously supplied us with like a building in the back, like kind of like a detached garage, that we can permanently set up all the lathes, all our little mini lathes, so that we can hold plants and stuff back there without having to worry about setting stuff up and breaking stuff down all the time. So it allows us to have, run classes every month. In the past, since we had it, we were running at least one class a month, plus we were doing a couple open turnings here and there. So if you want to come and just do an open turning, you would come in, hop on the lathe if there's one available. We usually have members with experience that will help you with issues and stuff like that.
We had maybe possibly during the break, they'd like to walk over and take a look at the turning center.
Yeah.
Maybe someone could take them over there and show them what we have.
During the break. And have a look at it, it's a little bit of stuff right now, because we just got back from the woodworking show, we haven't set everything back up yet.
For all these guys that do turners, your the questions, where do I look, or what I highly suggest is get a lot of scrap of wood and play with it. And you're gonna, it's feel, okay? You're gonna use your ears and you're gonna feel it as you turn. You're gonna learn as you turn. The thing was mentioned, the tool rest. A lot of guys don't ever touch the tool rest after you first set it up. If you do that, and you keep turning, one of these days, all of a sudden, it's going to be, the tool rest is going to be too far away from the work. It's going to catch the thing's going to come up, your tool's going to come right up, hit you in the chin, and you'll have learned that lesson, and you'll remember to just stop the lathe and check and move stuff and feel it, but get a lot of old firewood, I'm telling you, I constantly take pieces of stuff out of my wood pile, my firewood. And sometimes I turn it and make something pretty, and other times I just make a unique piece of firewood. And there's nothing wrong with making a unique piece of firewood because you've learned from it. Okay. And you're going to learn with all the different types of tools. I'm self-taught, and I've just started getting into using a bowl gouge. For the longest time, I was using all scrapers, carbide scrapers, because they're easier to work with. But I wanted I want to get better at it. So I'll go in with a bowl gouge, and all of a sudden I'll find myself making mistakes. So I put that gouge away and I'll play with the other ones, and then I'll come back and play with it again, and but it's all feel and it's sound. Listen to the sound of your tool as it's turning on the wood, you know? You can tell when you finally true the wood up, you won't hear the clacking. If you take your tool and lay it right up on top of the piece of wood, when you first start turning, you're not sure if you got it round yet. Lay it on top, you'll hear it knock, 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 knock. Okay, I got some flat spots. But it's, again, don't be afraid to make a lot of firewood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
All right,
Online, on YouTube especially, there are millions of videos of how to turn. Some are very good, some are not. I think it would be a wonderful idea if someone, one of the board members comes up with a suggested list of videos for beginner turners to look at.
so if you're a member of the AAW has a whole video section with vetted videos that are deemed by the AAW as safe.
But there are too many of them. You know,
Yep.
we just pick a few for beginner
Okay.
and
So
put it out there.
Okay, I got one.
In my spare
second,
time,
I'll move on.
Yes, no, we want.
Okay. We need to move on, but I have one announcement. There are two piles of American Woodturner magazine on the back table. Anybody who wants them is welcome to them, especially new guys. Whatever is left there at the end of tonight is being recycled. I cleaned out my office this past week, so, okay, so Chris, what's the next thing on your agenda?
All right, so we're gonna do tips and tricks. Keith's got a short one and then Gary will.
The last several months, I've been asking people come up with tips. Nobody stepped up and volunteered, but tonight, there is the first member gonna step up and do a demonstration on tips. But tonight, I still brought another tip in, a small tip. Tonight, my tip is how to make a point tool. Very easy to make. It's just, three grinds on it, but to get it even, you gotta make yourself a little aid. And if you go online, you'll see a number of them. Sometimes it's just like a piece of wood with three sides. You just hold on here so you can get the angles. Well, what I used, this is pipe fitting. This one happens to be a reducer. You can get one the same diameter as this. Put it in here, drill a hole, put a set screw. When I play with my parts, this is a fitting for flare tool for copper tubing. I just screwed this thing in here, and the reason why I did it, I need to reduce the hole on this. This fits perfectly in here. Put a set screw on here. Now, when you make your grind, you lay this on your grinder. As you turn it around, you'll get the three sides. And you just grind it. That's all it is, just a tip, very easy to make. Okay.
Very good,
so I'll
thank you.
pass it around.
Mr. Castle.
This came about in a strange way. My metal lathe got me thinking about this. And I figured, why not turn it over to a wood lathe? So, is there a way that we can get a camera in here close?
Yeah, we are.
This,
Just zoom in there,
this
Anthony.
was, no, you got to zoom into the hole.
No, we're not gonna be able to.
Not gonna
zoom
be able
in.
to do it. Okay, well, I didn't set this up. This is the way the lathe came out. And I don't know whether or not you guys can see that or not. That's what was in there. It's a piece of wood. Yeah, so I'm sorry, you can't see it then. It's a sliver of wood that would, I guarantee you that'll play hell with a Morse taper. And that's what the whole thing brought it to mind. Anyway, it was a way to simply maintain a Morse taper. And if you guys are like me, you get the tool you're gonna put in there, you clean it off, and you stick it in the hole. Okay, and it's a good way to ruin the taper in the machine and ruin the taper on the tool that you're putting in there. So the easiest way that I've found to clean it is with a very expensive tool. That's the whole deal. Dowel with a slit in it.
What do you have on the dowel?
I have a piece of Scotch-Brite on a dowel. So all you do is help it along. Voila, all the rust is gone. It's clean. Pardon me? Sure. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do you better. I'll rent this one to you. Okay, so to give you an idea, that's what started this whole thing was, I just thought that cleaning. Now, when I started with this stuff, do you have a number 1, number 2, number 3 Morse taper? And the easiest way is to measure it. You can remember half, 3/4, and 1 inch. They're all fractionally smaller than each size. So it's easy to decide on what size taper you do have. Okay. Now, the reason you want to clean this thing is because to stop galling. And this is an example. I'll pass this around of something that will ruin your lathe. Norm, you can start that around if you would. That should be put in the garbage. Okay, if something's gonna ruin it, it'll do it. It'll do it. Now, that's reasonably clean, but let's take it to the next step. Let me do it out here. This is my favorite product for a shop. Is Brake Clean. The only downside to it is very flammable. But it is a great product to have in the shop. Yeah.
You say brake cleaner? Where do you get it?
Brake Clean, any auto parts store, and it's cheap. Should be about $3.50 a can. With inflation today, probably $4 a can. And this is how I clean mine. Again, dowel, slot. Okay. Now you know you're starting with something that's clean. The other, this is to take out what's left in there. That's going to remove this. This was pretty rusted inside. And you don't want anything, you don't want, ideally, if you had 2 pieces of metal and they were perfectly flat, I mean, as flat as you could get a piece of metal, you put them together, they'd almost stay there. And that's the purpose of the principle of Morse taper. So now you want to check it. That's why I handed out the handouts. If you want to see what's going on, if you look at the handouts, you'll see there's 3 different shanks there. The shank on the left is a good knockoff of a Jacobs chuck. And what you're doing is that what I did is this. This is Dykem. It's a machine that's used. It's a compound that you use to scratch stuff to scribe a project into. Okay, you can use a Sharpie pen. We'll do the same thing. Take it and gently put it in. You don't want to lock it in. Put it in and then turn it. And give you an idea of how much contact you do have. Not a lot. I don't know what you guys can you see that? I mean, that's not a lot. You're a perfect picture is 70%. So next, to try to retrieve this thing. I'm gonna get beat at my own game here. Look at that. That was a clean one. Nobody cleans the headstock, because you really don't use it that much. But it's it was pretty dirty.
Harry, what did we clean the headstock with?
I just stuck the rag in there just to clean it out a little bit. Okay. Now I gotta clean some of this stuff off here because I'm gonna do this. But anyway, you get the principle of what I'm gonna do. Okay. Good old Amazon. $15. Okay. It's a reamer. And when you're dealing with reamers, there's 2 kinds of reamers, just real quickly. Square, if it's got a square shank on it, it's a hand reamer. If it's got no square shank on it, round shank on it, it's a machine reamer or a chuck reamer. So we're gonna put a little bit of,
Is that reamer tapered or is it straight?
it's tapered. It's a number 2 Morse taper. Now, I have all the junk here, so I plan to fail. A little bit, just a little bit of oil, it's basically, I'm sorry.
I'll give you more working area. Slide this down.
I bring this one down. Let me just clear the junk off here.
Oh, I got more work surface.
Okay.
Somebody said the reamer was a Morse paper?
It's a number 2 Morse taper reamer. So if you have a number 1 or number 2 or number 3 Morse taper, you'd buy the one that would now. They sell a 2-piece set. Okay, you don't need a 2-piece set because the first one, the one, it's different than this. You'll notice this one's just straight. The flutes on it are just straight. The other one has serrated flutes on it. The other one is more for cutting. This will just clean it up. So if you have any galling in there, this will take care of it. Just give me a second to get the stuff off. Yeah, it was Amazon. Yeah, I was shocked because Sal asked me about the reamer. And I said to him, I was wrong. I said to him, they're very expensive. I've never seen a cheap one. And I started looking around and lo and behold, it came up. Okay. So
$22 per service.
where?
On Amazon, $22.
I just checked this tonight, 15.95 for 15.45. Come on.
Instead of 2?
One, no, you don't need the 2. You don't need the 2. Yeah. Okay, I was off. I was off. Okay, so basically, you're going to do this. You're going to rotate the reamer only one direction. There's no going back. So you start turning and going in. I would say that no more than 2 revolutions. Because you don't want to take too much out of it. This is great. I noticed that about this reamer. It's not made correctly. The wrench will not go on all the sides, all flats. Somebody counting?
Yeah, you're doing the tailstock now?
I'm doing a tailstock.
Okay.
You can do the headstock or the tailstock. This one's number 2. Oh, by the way, this is a left-handed lathe. I think that's good enough.
And that's just a feel for as you turn the headstock.
I'm just slowly, trying to feed it in just to get a feel for it, just to turn it as you're going. You can feel it with the wrench. You can get the feel of how much resistance you have when you're doing it.
Just maintain a small amount of resistance.
Yeah, just to maintain a small amount of resistance.
You can see any flat lines that came from it?
Yeah, you can see the shavings on it. Yeah, there's shavings coming out. I'll pass this around if anybody wants to look at it. Go ahead.
So you have to be section. It's the same paper.
Yes, it's exactly. Well, supposedly. That's why I say, if you look at the papers I handed out, the chuck on the left is a good Chinese lookalike of a Jacobs. But you can see you got there's very, very little contact there. And then you wonder, you put it in there. Actually, I have one home, a cheaper bottle. I don't know where I got it from the net. You can actually put it in there and put a little a drill bit or something in it, and you can actually feel it move. So you're not going to get any contact with that. Now, this may prove me wrong. Maybe I won't get better contact. I don't know. We'll see. You believe in me? I don't know.
Now, when you put the tailstock to the headstock, what was that?
The reason is to keep it in line. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to make a bad situation worse by pulling it off to one side. By rights, you should use a double handle, but I didn't have one in my shop big enough to do it.
The bottom of the taper has a hole in it, so you're putting.
The tail end has a hole, yeah.
Putting the.
So they line up. Otherwise, you get it on top of a wall.
If you have a more safer on either a drill press or a lathe, or just spin.
The more, a drill press has the same Morse taper.
How do you-
Most of them do.
It's slipping. Unless it's really, really bad.
I've had 3 different drill presses in my lifetime, and I've only had a Morse taper come out one time. And I was doing something really stupid. I deserved it. Came out, went across the shop, rolled across the shop in the material. But outside of that, I've never, and my theory is, the reason being, what do you do with a drill press? You put it in there and it's never taken out. This, you're in and out, it's subjected to dust. Let's see, we did any better.
In essence, you're reading that.
Exactly. What you're doing, you're reaming it out to the point where all you're doing is just taking the burrs out.
If you keep on doing it, if you do it, every 6 months or so.
No. You shouldn't have to do it at all.
That's so the mail is not gonna do any good.
It's a very good point. It's an excellent point. That's exactly what's gonna happen. That's why I said, don't buy the 2-piece one. Because the first one is a cutting one. The one with the serrations in it is for cutting. I don't want to take too much time trying to get this done. Okay, I don't know whether it'll make a difference, but you could play with it. You go back and do it again. It's not a big deal. Yeah, you can see it. See the difference? Right up in here.
What'd you mark it with?
Dykem. Dykem, Dykem. It's expensive. It's not worth it. Unless you're gonna,
Cheap little bottles, but MasterCard.
yeah, $15. If you want to spend $15 for something you're gonna use one time, a Sharpie costs you nothing. Costs you peanuts. But there's proof in pudding right there. You can see the difference in the way it's, pass it around, you can take a look at it. Now, where's my sheet here? Okay. Now, somebody asked me about a drill press. There. Glad you brought it up. This is the quill on my drill press. You can see where the Morse taper goes into it. Now, if you want to take that out of there, some guys will take a hammer and a punch and they'll punch it out. And it's ridiculous what people go through to do something wrong. Cheap tool. That goes in there, bango, it comes out. Now, another interesting, real quick thing, and then I'll get off the stage here. That I thought was interesting. If you buy or have a cheap chuck or a cheap Morse taper thing that you're going to put in here, once in a while you get one where the Morse taper is so short that it won't eject it. Then you got yourself a problem. Very simple problem. All you do is take the biggest adjustable wrench you have, put it on here, and crank this back, it'll pop it right off. Simple. I've spent days trying to get them out. Believe me, I had one in there. It was a bear. That's all I had to say. Any questions? Yeah.
Okay, that's great for the female. But when you recondition the male on the other.
Throw it out. Or you can buy, they call it an arbor or a shank. What tool are you talking about? A chuck?
Jacob's chuck.
Oh, Jacob's chuck. Okay, Jacob's chuck, there's no problem. What you can do is, there's two tapers that you're gonna be playing with on a lathe. There's an MT, which is Morse taper, okay, and there's a JT, which is a Jacob's taper. The chuck is held on with a Jacob's taper. When you look at that chuck that's going around, take a look at it and you'll see it's the same thing as a Morse taper. The only difference is they don't come out. I mean, I have one home I've fooled it 3 or 4 different times. I bought there's 2 wedges you can put in there, put wedges in it, can't get it out, but you can get them out. Yes. If you're lucky enough, if you can look into the chuck and in the bottom of the chuck, you can see that the chuck is drilled through to the taper. All you have to do is put it in a bench vise with a pin and punch it and knock it out. You can drive it out. You can buy them from Shars Tool, SHARS, Shars. And Amazon has some of their stuff as well. Any other questions?
Yeah. A real basic question. When you're putting the chuck in, do you tap it at all?
No, you just push it in. It's good enough. There's one thing I did forget to tell you. That I made up this little tool You can buy these on the internet for $20 to $40. But me being cheap, and I am a turner, so I figured I'd make it. And all you do is you have this on your bench, and you take this and you put it in, and you turn it, and voila, it's clean. Velcro, the part of the Velcro that's soft. And what I did is I turn it along. You get, you know, the dimension of your taper. Take this dimension, smallest and largest dimension. Okay, and it sets your rest up close to that, but turn it along. So that in this case, so that what you can do is you can cut it back until it fits in correctly. But I'll pass that around. It's a simple little thing to make. Go ahead.
Grass Supply sells plastic or green like that.
The green worm, it's no longer available. No, okay.
That said about using the Morse taper, I have a Joe truck that put on there and it's too short.
That's
It's here.
just what I'm talking about.
So what I did, I threaded the hole, I bolted it.
Right.
And ground the nut down, so
Yeah.
it's the same Morse taper,
Well,
with that extra.
I do the same thing sometimes I'm doing something small and I'll put a Jacobs chuck in the headstock. But you don't ever put a Jacobs chuck in and work on it sideways. The Jacobs chuck is designed to have pressure down, not side pressure. And what'll happen is, number one, it'll work itself out. So you've got to put a piece of running thread in and thread the end of it to hold it in. Any other questions? I took too much time. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated. You have a lot more knowledge than a lot of us here.
I don't know about that. It's,
All right, so we're gonna take a quick 10-minute break. We'll do the 50-50 and then we'll move on to the panel discussion. Nicely done here. First one.
Last four is 3931.
And I even paid you, Bruce. Nobody has. You got it? Oh, there it is. Come on up.
Hey, Bruce.
Pack of bottle sockets from stainless steel bottles.
I've got a few bottles. Thank you.
All right, so that's it for the raffle. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jesse. He's gonna moderate the panel discussion on selling your work.
Jesse, stay close to this. That's what they're calling.
Oh, okay.
All right, so, sorry, so I got asked if we could all speak loudly so that everybody can hear. So if you guys can cooperate, but anyway, tonight we're gonna do a panel on selling your work. I know practically almost everybody, if not over 70% of club sells their work. We just picked a couple people with varied perspectives, so we'll go through the panel. If you guys want to start with Doug, introduce yourself and how you got started selling and what you actually sell.
Okay. I got started in wood turning by attending the show in Somerset, with the wood turning show. Came to a meeting and the rest is history. Bruce taught me how to turn bowls and probably was instrumental in me staying with the club. What I sell is I sell primarily at craft fairs. My biggest seller probably is Christmas ornaments, followed by lighthouses, some gnomes. Haven't sold a single bowl yet. Nor have I sold any bottle stoppers either. I sell pens. They're always a big seller, but it depends on the show. It seems like if I have fountain pens, then nobody wants them, and if I don't have them, everybody's asking for fountain pens. I have been trying to put together a website for the last year or so. I find that one of the difficulties is creating the content, taking all the pictures and writing up a description of what you're trying to sell. And that's where what's stalling me at this point.
Joe Tyne, Solid Craft Shows. I do have a website that's very, very neglected. I just don't have the time to work on it. I just got started. I was giving stuff away and everybody kept saying you should sell this stuff. So it was in April of 2021, I started selling. And I did like $290 my first show. It was good. I thought I was gonna sell out of everything I had, but doesn't work that way. I sell pens, bottle stoppers, screwdrivers, honey dippers, seam rippers, keychains, all kinds of little stuff like that with turned handles.
Bruce Perlmutter, I've been doing this for longer than probably I should admit. Probably, yeah, I've been doing this for about 25 or 30 years, not selling my work the whole time, but I guess I started selling maybe 20 years ago. I started at garage. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. I started at not a garage sale, at a firehouse. I was making I've made just about anything, ornaments. I've made one pen. Pens are not my thing. But I do mostly bowls and hollow vessels. I also sell spheres, tops. I don't sell tops. I give tops away. What else? I'm doing it for a while.
Okay, and Brian.
I'm Brian Boney. I just started turning probably 2 years ago at this point now. But I've been selling, I first started selling like custom skateboards. I started doing that in 2016, so we're at 8 years now. And then I've slowly progressed into other woodworking stuff, cutting boards, charcuterie boards, furniture, a little bit of everything.
And you do mostly craft shows?
Yeah, I mostly do craft shows. I've done some stuff through social media, I've sold some. So pretty much mostly in-person stuff.
Okay, so it sounds like, so I know a lot of you, I see at the craft shows, I know, and then Bruce, you do some of the other shows too, though. You do like more like, I guess. I wouldn't say like museum type places, but like the higher end shows you're at more than the craft shows, right?
Yes,
Galleries.
yes, I still consider them craft shows, but I found that with a few exceptions, juried shows work best for my work.
Okay.
If
What
it's,
fine with jury show is, not everyone probably knows what they are.
that's where the work is reviewed before you bring it up there. You send photographs, and it's one way to keep the quality of the work a little elevated. But I found that's worked best for me.
Does it help to reach a higher price point for what you're making, or is that one of the reasons why you do it, or?
Yeah, I found that the people who pay to go into the more expensive shows, not the vendors, the public that pays to get into a show expects a certain quality of work. And that's fit. Those are the people that I've been looking for. My price point is higher than most that you would find at a craft show, a regular craft show. So they are expensive, and I have lost money at big shows, but
Because similar question, like Joe, I've seen you down at Batsto for their country living fair. And I know like they're people there, like where the Cranberry Festival, they're going there specifically to look for handmade crafts. Do you find that's better than just a regular, like run of the mill, like?
It's really hard to figure it out. 2 years ago at the Cranberry Festival, I did really good. This past year at the Cranberry Festival, I did all right, but not worth, driving an hour each direction 2 days in a row. And, it's like $2.25 to get into that one. So it's hard. Sometimes you go to a $25, $35 entrance fee show and, you make a killing. You just don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I do have one thing. If you are going to be selling your work, make sure that you price it for like a decent price, because if you sell it for just because you want to try it, or you're not really interested in the money, you're not doing it for the money. There's people that are doing it to supplement income. You want to make sure that you're not cheaping out on the craft, because at the end of the day, it's not a race to the bottom. There should be a general, like, at least somewhat number of what you want to make for a certain piece. You don't want to cheapen the craft that you do, because it does take time.
Okay, on that point though, so how do you go about then? Like, so say you're selling a bowl, right? How are you figuring out what you think is a fair price to sell for?
Well, what I do is I try and determine, like, obviously the type of wood goes into it. If it's a more expensive wood that you're going to be turning, that obviously increases it. If there's different type of like figure, like spalting, ambrosia, curliness, that adds to the value, because it just makes it a more beautiful looking piece. If it's got different like embellishments, that obviously adds, because that increases the amount of time that it's taking to finish out that bowl.
Okay,
Can I ask that same question of Bruce also, because I know you've been doing this for a long time with different types of things too.
What was the question?
How do you price?
Oh, how do you price your work? Well, I have one basic rule. The more I like it, the more I'm going to charge for it. But I also believe that I put 30 years into learning my trade. And I'm not that shy about asking to be compensated for that time.
Well, yes, I don't mean that you have a high price, but still, you're still, it's still going around with what other people are charging for bowls and things like that, I mean. Or you, as it, have to just incorporate it or internalize what everything costs.
I
kind of look at what other people in the certain show are selling for.
Well, I don't really know.
Bruce, you're not making repetitive runs of pieces, your pieces are one-off mostly?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's a little bit different category. Right there, it's more of an art.
Yeah, they're each is individual and, I do consider how long it takes me to do a piece. Though I don't do it with a dollar sign. I just realize how much time I've got in this piece. And, one of the questions you hear at a show is, how long did it take you to make that? The way I do things, if things are, I'll do rough outs, and then I'll do finish turning, and then I'll do the finishing. So I don't really know how much time I have in this bowl, but I know I have a lot of time in it. And
the answer to that is 30 years.
I have used that line,
So then do you explain the process more than the time that it takes you to do? Is that how you?
if I think that it's a customer who appreciates what I'll be telling them, I'll do that. But that's not always the case. And I have had people say, oh, I can get that at Kmart. Go for it. Yeah, exactly.
But those type of questions are not asked of you at the shows that you go to.
No, they are.
Yeah.
They still are, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
An example of doing some of this, and I sell some of my bowls and stuff. But if you're gonna turn to try and make a living at it, pick another occupation. It's not, you're not gonna make your time. You start looking at these things, you realize I got 6 and 7 hours into this at $35 an hour. Well, good luck, you're not gonna get the money. You have to look at the pieces like you're doing art. Okay. I'm gonna give you an example. I also carved birds. Years ago, I was at a carving show. And I did a full-size Canadian goose. I entered the Canadian goose in the show competition. And then I had 6 pairs of smaller geese, only about 5-6 inches, okay? There was a male sentinel with his head up, and the female, her head was turned and her beak was under her wing, okay? All the feathers burned into it. I mean, nice work, okay? It's art. So, woman comes up and, oh, how much for the geese? I said, under $85 for a pair. Now, these feathers are all individually burned onto this, there's no 2 feathers on it exactly the same. It's not a stamp or anything else.
Right, but we understand the artists are different.
Yeah, so this woman says, how much for a piece? I said, it's $85 for a pair. She goes, that's ridiculous, I can get them at Kmart. I said, ma'am, go to Kmart. I don't want to discuss it. The guy next to me starts with how much he's making an hour for what he did here, he's working for like 5 cents, and he's arguing. I said, just be quiet, let her walk away. I said, go to Kmart, buy a piece. And,
We understand that can happen, but Norm, on the flip side, you do you, not a living, but I'm saying you, with your pens, you do pretty well to.
I do fairly well.
I mean, you've been doing it for a while, but.
Like Bruce said before, how long would it take you to make that in, years? Because over the years, I've learned how to make a better pen, how to make it more artistic, and how to put different things into it. But it all comes down to when you're selling it, how much is the public or the customer willing to pay for it? And are you giving them something which has an emotional bond with them? And with my pens, that's something I try to do. With Bruce's, his are so individualistic and so artistic that if someone that, feels that, wow, that's something that I really want to display in my house, that's the person that he wants to connect with. Am I right?
Yes.
One at a time.
Right.
So basically, when I've been doing probably as long as Bruce. And when I first got involved in it, selling at craft shows and such, I picked up a book, it's entitled, How Do You Price Your Work? And the one thing that I remember was that the guy said, always price your work as though you're gonna have to pay somebody to do it. Okay? Now, that's a loaded statement, because like somebody said, it's gonna take $15 an hour or 50 cents an hour, okay? But, that's something you might think about, if you're gonna get into it big time.
So now,
Yeah, Kevin's in the back there.
Gonna change the subject just slightly. Taxes, cost of work, you're pricing your stuff, and you're figuring out your overheads and your expenses. How do you handle your taxes? Because when I stopped doing craft shows, you had always a tax stamp in the back of your booth. And how do you figure that into not only your operating costs? I mean, somebody mentioned maybe $225 for the show. You got an hour's worth of time, you got the materials. How do you put that all together and how do you, I stopped because I got sick and tired of filing multiple tax returns. How do you handle the taxes? With what you know?
do you guys actually handle the taxes? Do you have?
If I ever figure it out, I'll let you know.
Just build. I mean, I charge that as an add-on. I don't include it in the cost of the item. So, somebody buys something for $30, I'm gonna charge them $30 plus the tax.
So you have a sales tax ID.
I do.
Yes,
And do the shows require that you have an ID to go to the show?
many of them do.
Yes,
All, but
Some of
some of them do.
yeah.
but you have to be careful though, because sometimes you might see some tax inspectors coming around to the shows and actually checking to see.
Yeah.
If you
So-
should have a certificate.
So you set that up as your own business through the state, or how did you go about that route? I haven't done it.
Well, for me, I already have a computer consulting business which has an EIN. And under federal laws, you can't have more than one EIN per individual or entity. So what I did was I got a tax ID for selling at craft fairs under my social security number. So I actually have two, one business entity, one and for my personal one. I also registered a fictitious name, basically with the state. And it's pretty easy to do everything. I just basically did everything in one day, a couple phone calls and a couple forms to fill out. I don't remember exactly.
Tell the state.
What's that?
How much do you give me if I don't tell the state?
Well, you'd have to give them the correct name.
Everything I found legitimate stuff.
Some shows require you to have insurance too.
Yes,
Once I,
yeah.
It's more
Some
so
do.
just because if somebody trips over something,
Your display case falls on top.
yeah, I tend to not do those just because it's not really worth it. If you got somebody that's drunk and just had like stammering around, that's not really a show that I want to deal with.
Yeah,
No, you can do you can do
Right.
sole proprietor.
that, and I think that's what
And you have to bring a lot of the higher end shows, you have to bring an actual tax ID certificate.
Mhm.
There's somebody wanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that's required that I'm surprised at in a couple of shows was that if you have any drapery or cloth that you use to decorate your booth, It has to be fiber.
I've run into that also. Yeah.
And there was one show that I mentioned, upstate New York, it was actually a fireman show going around.
Mm.
checking the maps. And he closed a couple of weeks ago. So we can have this.
So,
To go back to Kevin's question, I don't categorize and go through what was this expense, what was that expense? Material, insurance, taxes. I can't be bothered with that. I just put a price on it where I feel comfortable that it's all gonna be covered.
Yeah,
That too.
that's what I do. Like if there's a specific show, like if there's a show, I know there's one that I do in Philly. I do well there every single time because they are very strict on who they let in and how many people of a certain craft they let in. Sorry about that. So then I know that I can probably charge a little bit more because I'm gonna be the only person there that's doing the type of stuff that I do. And I've been doing that show for so long that the people know me by name and they know not that even if I say that I'm gonna be coming and I end up not like answering to a few emails, they always keep a spot for me. So that way it might just be that I missed it. It varies. Some of them I've done that are like $25, $30. Some of them that I've done are $150, $250. It all depends on how much it is. Like it's varied.
I think the highest I ever paid to get in a show was about $850.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, you've got 4 individuals up there who have had similar yet dissimilar experiences with craft fairs in their individual craft fairs. You've got the high end and you've got a lower end. And each one of us, when you go to a craft fair for the first time, you pay your money and you have no idea how well you're going to do.
Yep.
There's no guarantee that. Sometimes there's a factor of the weather. Sometimes it's the time of year,
Very
a
big.
particular day that they've chosen to have that fair. And after a couple of years, you're gonna know, these are my standards, and this drops off the list, and this drops off the list. And we're always looking for craft fairs which suit our particular craft and our particular cost structure.
Yeah, that is
Correct or not?
very true.
That's right.
Cause there's been some that I've done and there's ones that I've done for years. And recently they've allowed more and more people of the same show or at the same show. And I've decided not to do it because the amount of money has just dropped off because basically there's other people that are doing it and they're not really in it for the money. So then it's basically a race to the bottom and there's gonna be other people that are going to that thing. Even if my stuff might be better, it may not be their price point. And it is what it is.
You should attend the show or a couple of shows like it, just as attendees.
Very true.
That's a
good
point. And
Very good point.
a lot of the shows that I've done, I'm sorry, I've walked the show one year and then applied it to it the next.
Yep.
Because I don't want to go in totally blind.
Mhm.
Take a look at the market that show is addressing. Because if you're going to a show, for example, the Marstar has a real high-end show that they run twice a year. And you can price your product for that market and price it somewhat lower for another market. You do something in different parts of the year that
Yep.
attracts the market. So you really have to think of the people that attend it, because if they're charging $15, $20, or $25 as an entry fee, there are people that got hundreds of dollars in their pocket. They're not gonna need a show until they spend it. And then there are other shows. Yeah, they're only there for entertainment. They have no intention of spending a cent. They're just walking around, it's like a window shop.
Yep. I've had several people come up and even if it's $10, $15 cheaper and they'll say, oh, will you take this price? I tell them no, because I've set my price, that's my price, and that's, if they want to pay it, then they pay it, if not, so be it.
Do you guys find that a lot though, that sometimes people are bartering?
Yeah, some of mine, but I mean, it all depends on the show, like the higher end shows, more, usually I don't see that, but
I don't barter.
Okay.
yeah.
I
don't.
I have a price. Now, if somebody is buying multiple pieces, I will discount the price possibly. I had a carved piece that I'm sure I brought here and showed off at the last show that I did in the city. And this guy came in and he looked at it, he loved it, and he said, oh, I'll be back. And he came back and he asked me if I would negotiate the price, and I told him no, I wouldn't do it. Partly because I knew he was back there to get it.
Right.
But I don't like to negotiate that. No, I just tell the customer that I think I have priced it honestly and it's a fair price.
So just going back for a second on the insurance question, Chris, I thought did you get insurance through AAW or did they have something through there that you would?
Yeah, AAW offers it advertises the general liability, but it really is more of a policy, so basically it gives me liability insurance in case someone gets hurt in my booth or if somebody gets hurt from one of my products. It also covers my equipment in my shop.
What, he's used the term BOP policy. That's an acronym for business owners policy. It's kind of like a homeowner's policy for small businesses, where it gives you a lot of different coverages. It's what we have here that covers our equipment as well as our general liability. It's a good thing.
If you're a member of the AAW, you get a pretty good discount off of it, so I pay maybe, I don't know, around $400 a year. And it's just peace of mind that if somebody were to sue me, it's gonna protect me because I'm only a sole proprietor, so there is no layer of protection. Like if you were to have an LLC or something like that.
Wait, behind you, sorry.
Where?
Just accept cash, credit card.
Okay, I use the Square. So that, I guess I've been using that for quite some time. And before, when I took checks, I was always nervous taking people's checks. Though I don't think I ever had one bounce. And when I took the Square and business, people want to use their cards. And you pay a fee per transaction.
3%.
Pardon me?
About 3%.
Yeah, something like that.
10 cents per swipe.
Yeah. But again, that's just a cost that I absorb.
Where you go at the very end of the year, tax season, they send you they handle everything for you.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you display your prices on each of your products?
Yes, yes, I probably shouldn't put it on the bottom because then people have to handle it, but that's what I do.
Yeah, I do as well.
I have signs, like each particular item, in groups, I price them all the same.
Yeah, I do a sign as well, and then for any bowls that I've turned that I do wood burned like pyrography artwork as well. So those are just varying prices as well. So if it's a standard thing like bottle stoppers, whatever, those are one set price, but the other stuff, it's got its own.
I just something a little different. I have my displays set up that the price categories are gathered together, basically. They're not listed anywhere. So it forces someone to ask me, how much is this? And that allows me to get into a conversation with them. Sometimes about the difficulty or the beauty or whatever, but it engages the customer, potential customer, in a conversation. And, I've always thought that was a good way of doing.
Yeah, I've done that as well sometimes. Depends if I have the table space.
Have any of you considered online selling, either through Etsy or through other types of media like that?
I tried on the website and I've never sold anything on it yet. I just don't have the time, for the pictures and posting everything. And maybe someday when I retire.
That's not your personal website, Joe, or using like Etsy or eBay or something?
No, it's on a personal website. I made it on Wix.
I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. And I display my work, though I'm not very good at keeping it up to date. I might do it once or twice a year in a good year. I have found that Jody did the thing on photography that, and getting good photographs that are publishable and is really frustrating for me to get the lighting right, especially if you have a shiny piece. Because you have glare and flare and it's very hard to photograph that kind of work. And then be able to put it online. And I don't think I've ever sold anything from that, though I have gotten customers from people seeing my work. And then they come to my house or a show or whatever.
Brian, did you need? Yeah, go ahead. You get residual stuff?
Yes, I do get, I have some people who, whenever they're going to a wedding, they're coming to my house first. Yeah, it is. And I do specific shows where I have return customers. There's, I did a show, I do a show, my wife and I do a show in St. John of Divine in the city. And there's one guy, every year we've been there, he's come and bought from us. And I thought after COVID, there was 3 or 4 years that they didn't have the show, but he was right back there this year. So it's really gratifying that when people come looking for you.
Which powder you put in the bowl?
Pardon?
Which powder you put in the bowl so it comes back? Check.
Yeah, I have a question on profit and loss. As one would become a bona fide seller or business person, do you get to write off all your expenses? All the lathes and the grinders and the tools?
I think when I first started out, I had collected all this equipment and my tax guy used some of that but generally not.
You probably advertised it over years.
Something like that. I don't know exactly.
I mean, do you, like all the wood supplies you would buy during the year, you keep track of that as expenses?
Yeah, I keep every receipt and add everything up and kind of categorize it and give it to the accountant. And he does whatever he does with it.
I do have a separate credit card that I buy things for my business.
And that would go towards the expense?
Yes, yeah. So to that extent, I do that.
Good question. You can't show a loss more than 3 years in a row. Because then it's not considered a business, it's considered a hobby.
Yeah, well, one of my tax guys told me that that's not exactly true, but that's a general.
Depends on what kind of a tax guy you have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think the word's called shyster.
In the firm of Dewey Shear. What I've done over the past is, I'm not so sure I got the right section of the tax code. But anytime I bought a piece of equipment, rather than trying to amortize it over whatever you establish as a useful life, my account will take it as I think it's called a 179 deduction, which basically expenses the entire thing in that year. And that's how I've done it over 20-some years. But what I wanted to mention is, nobody brought it up yet.
is the concept of overhead. I mean, it's virtually impossible for me anyway, to figure out how much electricity I'm using, how much of this I'm using, how much of this I'm using. So what I do is I take my household expenses. I calculate the percentage of the house that I have allocated to my shop. And take that percentage, and that's what my accountant uses to calculate my overhead.
Right, so I think I'm hearing it's important to find a good accountant or a tricky accountant.
Yes.
That can help you, because we're not professional accountants.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the business owner has to keep track of all that first.
Yes.
No, you just keep the receipts of what you can.
So another question I had, and we'll wrap it up in a few minutes, like, how do you guys plan for inventory? Like, because it's like, are you planning for inventory? It sounds like you're not, but this.
No, you constantly have inventory, like last year, as many of you know, I had shoulder surgery, so that week before I went under the knife, I was down in my shop every single night, basically from the time that I got home from work till probably about 10, 11 at night, because I knew that I had events that I was going to be doing and that I would at least be able to do, maybe with help, come the Christmas time, because I needed to make sure that I had enough inventory to offset the amount that I was going to be out.
On the subject of inventory, over the weekend, at the woodworking show, I was talking with Larry Morgan, who sells a great deal, is a member of the club, and Barry Gross, who sells a great deal, and is also a member of the club. And we were talking about the subject of inventory, and one common theme was, hey, well, we have a great show. Damn, now we gotta go back and make more.
Right.
And
It's an uptown problem.
never-ending battle. Bruce mentioned to me one time that he has a Bible. So it all depends on how many storms we get.
This is true. That's not exactly true. I do buy some wood. But I don't buy much. And what I have determines what I'm making.
What you're gonna sell.
Yeah, so, sometimes I'll go visit Ron.
Right, yeah, that's nice to
He's
go
good,
there.
yeah.
And if I get a suggestion too, it's, I have a sense of what sells at different craft shows. So I always make sure that because I'm leading up to a craft show, I always make more of those different kinds of things that I know sell. I also try to introduce something new to every craft show that I do. So generally speaking, I do mostly turning things, but I started to get into more flat work. So I do sandwich boards and I do cutting boards and things like that. And then I'm starting to get into some of the epoxy things like, river platters and things of that nature. So every time I do a show, I try to introduce something new and see if that's going to sell or not.
I try to do one new item a year. Since I've gotten a lathe, that seems to be more like 2 or 3 items a year. Because you can just make so many different things on the lathe, but I've tried to at least make one new item each year to offer. And I have a range varying from like $15 and up. I mean, and to be perfectly honest, I've had people say, it's too much for the $15 item. And it's like, okay, yeah. Just keep on walking. Yeah.
Question for now, 2 parts. First part is, what are the shows that you go to? And the second part is, what is your individual price range of the products that you bring to each show?
Well,
I do shows, all over, different ones. Some I do every year. So I've only been doing this like my 4th year, so I have been dropping some that weren't good. And I'm between like $17 and $53.
Most of the shows that I do are in South Jersey, Collingswood, Haddonfield, Merchantville. Pretty much convenient to the other house that we have, and I find at least in those 2 towns, Collingswood and Haddonfield, I do very well at those shows. People come to spend money. They're juried shows. There's not paid admission, it's a street show, but people do spend money at those shows. What was the second part of that question?
Price
Your
range.
price range. Oh, probably $15 at the low end for a cheapy Christmas tree ornament, up to $200 or $300 for a bowl or something of that nature. And I just wanted to comment too, on something that Bruce said earlier, about he charges more for things that he likes. And I find myself too, I do the same thing, and if I really like it, I really mark it up because I don't want to sell it. If somebody wants to pay me for it, then I'll part with it, but otherwise, I want to keep it.
I do, Made in Monmouth, that's pretty good show. It's always, we've always been in Made in Monmouth. I think we missed maybe one show. And right from the beginning, that was an excellent show for us. I started, after the first year, I started getting repeat customers there. So that was helpful. I'm now doing again, the show in New York City, Crafts at the Cathedral is the name of it. That's always been a good show for me. We haven't had, since COVID, we haven't been doing all that many shows. I do have a couple of places locally who carry my work. There's an art studio in Locust, Middletown. And she carries some of my work. There's a place in Asbury that carries my work. And
a lot of money for carrying the work.
they take a price, but if I figure out, and my wife and I sat down and talked about this for a while, we realized that my overhead going to a big show and getting all of the money is actually equivalent to giving a commission to somebody else. And the other thing, the price, I have things from $25 to $500 and up. Where was it? The last Made in Monmouth. I sold the most expensive piece I ever made. But you guys have probably seen that. It was a big burl, natural edge burl. It was literally, I fit 20 inches on my lathe, so this was 19 inches. It was huge. It was beautiful. It was a burl. The wood, if I had to buy that piece of wood, it would have been really expensive. I didn't have to buy it, luckily. It was a beautiful piece, and I'll never make a bowl that came out better than that. That was.
Really appreciates.
You know something? The woman who did buy it, I took it down from the shelf and she says, "Oh, I've seen it. I was here before and I saw it before." And I turned it over and I guess I had this look on my face with the price on it. She says, "I know how much it was." I said, "It's yours."
I'm curious, how many, shows you do per year? And also, some of you sell different things, so do any of you do the same show? Because like, for instance, I think Norm only sells pens and you sell not pens.
Correct.
You wind up at the same shows.
Yeah, we've been together at the same show of Norm. Who else? Tom, yeah, for sure.
I've been at a show with Joe, Norm, and Tom and I, we sell similar things. We definitely make sure that it is priced basically exactly the same. So you're not competing with each other. We do compete with each other because it is similar stuff, but he's got a style. I have a different style. So it plays well to each market.
And about how many shows per year does each of you do?
Last year I didn't do as many, but I've done, I think the most that I've done was probably like 10 or 15. And that was in a probably 2019, because I did a lot of shows, basically where I was doing one basically right after the other.
Question for also. How many of you sell do you sell outside of the show environment other than consignments?
I do.
Occasionally, yeah,
Customer.
somebody
Other
might
people
want something.
Come see me after meeting me at the show.
Yeah, I've had people contact me that they took my card and say it was something that they wanted to get for a Christmas gift or whatnot. That's when you usually get a lot of those around the Christmas time, because it's something that you may not have at it, but they want it specialized for that person.
Karen, to answer your question, before COVID, I think the most we ever did was 10 shows in a year. And that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's all.
it does wear on you.
Last year, I did 19, I think it was. And the year before, I did 38. Quite a few.
So
From September right up to December, I had every weekend. No, I was pretty much after work every day. If I wasn't at a show, I was in the shop.
So I want to say thanks to you guys for being on the panel. Thanks for everybody participating in the group. Rich, do you have anything to add, or are you?
Jeff, did you have something?
How many products are actually bringing to the show?
I don't realize count, but I probably have 90 pieces with me. This is an issue that you put out too many pieces. People look and look and look and look and can't make up their mind and walk away. I had one woman at one show, she picked up every piece in my booth, left, came back and did it again, and still left without buying anything.
Yep.
So putting out too many pieces at one time can be a negative.
Yeah, you want it to look like you have inventory of like different items, but you don't want to have like basically like say this is your booth table. You don't want every square inch of it to be covered, because then it's just too much.
Yeah.
We got one question from the lady here.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a business card or flyer or whatnot. You have your name, your website, your Instagram, you have one. Do you put your telephone number as well?
I do.
I
have,
actually have a I actually have a separate phone number specifically for that I put on the cards. Yes.
Yeah.
I can text and call from.
I have all my social media on the back of the card.
Yeah, I have my social media on there, because that's where last year I did probably more on social media than what I did at like some of the shows that I've done.
I might suggest too, answer that question a little bit. I don't know if you're aware, Google offers Google Voice. You can actually get a phone number through Google. It's an internet phone.
That's what I'd do.
That's separate from your own.
Yep.
So instead of using your own personal phone, use a video. I will say
Yep.
to Google Voice, if you do the free one, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So they will, they can take the number away, which happened today. Well, I had about 200 business cards left with a number that I didn't.
Easy way to get around that. Just call that phone or text that number. Or tell your wife.
All right, thank you, everybody, for taking your time to answer everything. So next month meeting, Kevin and Doug are going to be holding a demo on doing pen finishes. And we will also do a show and tell.
Restart the fellowships.
We did it in January, right? Was It was, I thought we did one in January.
We did the,
Oh, so we were supposed to, but then the magic of weather made us have to reschedule the live. So we kind of combined them and it never really happened. So April. So it would be the third Tuesday, April would be the next embellishment meeting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so everybody's getting ready to go. So I stopped by my local, company outside of Region that makes stairs and railings. And talked to them about giving us wood for Wick Stand. They're very happy to do it, probably getting more in the summertime when they're not even in the heating place. The only thing was, they only make stuff that's an inch thick. So I put these together and turned them, and I was curious what everybody's opinion is. Would you be interested in a wood that needs to be put together?
Yes.
I'm willing to make some lights and kits up for people that don't have the equipment, but I don't want to spend my entire life at the bandsaw, so I would rather bring in like 2 or 3 foot-long pieces, and that works? Yeah, okay. I got 2 kits with me here if somebody wants them.
Thank you, guys.
These chairs have to come back in.
These are.
Oh, yeah, those come down.
Those ones we get spread over this way. That, those,